Well, Ntombenhle, it looks like risk really is back off the table at this point. That US economic data last night really worrying the market.
Absolutely, Stephen. Yeah, risk aversion has definitely come back into our markets and into the global markets. The manufacturing data out of the United States yesterday was extremely disappointing, where we actually saw it shrink and a contraction there, which means a contraction in the manufacturing in the US. And I think we've seen that filter through to the rest of the market. Asia was down, and South Africa is also down, as well as the FTSE is also down. So I think it just goes to show that. The economy in the United States is still struggling, and to be a long time till actually we see any kind of improvement in that economy.
Of course, yesterday's data was really nothing new because we've had negative bits of data coming into this market periodically over the past few months. I mean, should yesterday's be viewed as negative or really bad?
Yeah, look, the initial jobless claims also, which is very important, that came out yesterday, which is a weekly number, and that disappointed very much, a lot more than what is expected it to go up by. And I think it is a fair reaction to this kind of data that's coming out, because it just does show that the economy in the United States is not as sound as initially thought, and that going forward it will take a lot longer for a recovery to come into effect. And I think it also shines a spotlight on the congressional elections that are coming up in November in the United States. And I think the President there, Obama, has actually come out saying that they need to propose a bill to assist the smaller businesses in the United States that are suffering and failing the most in that economy. So yes, the reaction is pretty appropriate for the kind of data that you've been seeing.
Okay, so we've seen the euro and the rand weakening. We've seen US treasuries and gold benefiting. Gold holding above 1230 an ounce. Would you expect gold to sustain these moves, perhaps move even higher, just given the risk aversion we're seeing at the moment?
Absolutely, Stephen. I do expect it, should more economic data like this come out from the big economies of the world. And I think, at the moment, what we're seeing is that the treasuries have been experiencing a little bit of thin volume because, the Northern Hemisphere is on summer holidays, but it's still very well bid, where we're seeing the treasuries yields coming down quite a bit there, and gold therefore going up. And I think that it's just a measure of the risk aversion and the flight to safety for alternatives to paper-based currencies, and for perhaps better performance out of the government treasuries.
I was taking a look at the top 40 board just a little bit earlier. It looked like there were very few winners in today's markets, nearly everything in the red. A couple of companies that did stand out. We had BHP Billiton up slightly, but this is a share that has come under pressure over the past week.
Yes, I think the hostile takeover bid for potash earlier on in this week has become a lot more expensive than what players maybe would have liked it to be, and we're seeing other players coming into the bidding process also. And I think, so we saw also this morning that it closed negative in the negative in Australia, but that was mainly because there was speculations that the joint venture, the iron ore joint venture that it is proposing with Rio, may not go through due to regulation, maybe not actually supporting that. But in our markets, it seemed to be very well, like the synergies there, seem to be very well received, and the expectation that demand, especially from China, will improve going forward. So I think that's the positive reaction we're seeing today.
MTN, it was up about 1.5% yesterday, came out with results yesterday. The results look pretty good in the face of it. We also had that 151 cents interim maiden dividend, because it hasn't been declaring interim dividends. Looks like the market really likes those numbers.
Yes, I think they like it. They like the fact that MTN is no longer pursuing any corporate activity or any kind of mergers, but is rather paying it out to shareholders. So yesterday was their first interim dividend, as you say. But I think also it's a reaction to the Nigeria numbers that came out that were above 4 million or 4.2 million, somewhere there, as well as the Rwanda unit that is doing a lot better and is on its way to increasing subscribers by 2.3 million. So I think it's very, very good prospects for MTN as a growth company, but it's also very well received because they are paying out instead of looking elsewhere for opportunities.
So is the market still viewing MTN as a growth story going forward from here, despite the lack of acquisition opportunities?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, they are going into a phase where perhaps they are expecting that they will need to consolidate in the industry, and they will need to find alternative ways of increasing their revenues. But I think it is very much a growth story, a growth share in because the expansion in Africa is still going on, and subscriber numbers are still increasing. And also in the Middle East, I think performance there is becoming a lot higher and a lot better. So yeah, I would definitely still call it a growth stock.
Well, we had numbers out from Northern Platinum this morning. Revenue up, earnings flat though for the past reporting period.
Yes, the revenue up 26% or 23% or something like that, you know, and metal production is also up. And I think the revenue is mainly based on the higher volumes that they experience, and also based on the dollar price for platinum. And I think so it was a really good showing there for platinum. But, you know, all in all, headline earnings per share were pretty much flat. We saw initially the performance there of the share was pretty flat, but it has gone down somewhat at the moment. But also the interesting thing there is that they may issue a 2 billion rand bond next year, or revolving credit facility of 500 million. So which just shows that, you know, they've got expansion plans, some production expansion in the Booysendal mine, and you know, and I think that was also a very positive of the share, even though, I mean, today is a very bad day because the entire market is going down, so they haven't really benefited from the positive side of their results.
Ntombenhle, and the market from here, what are we looking for? Any data coming out that could give us a bit of direction in this market?
Well, no data coming out today at all in the entire market, and I think that you know, what we'll see is that people trading just based on yesterday's news, those bad news that came out of the United States, and also expectations that, you know, things are not going to go well going forward. So I think you know, we'll see probably far less contraction. I think the top 40 is now well below the key support level of 24,000. So you know, I think we'll see. I think next week will actually give us a better barometer when other economic data comes out. But as we know, earnings season has ended in the United States, so going forward is economic data that we'll be relying on, whether it's downgrades or movements of downgrades in the Eurozone, or whether it's the lack of employment or employment creation in the United States. So I think that's what our market will definitely be reacting to.